friends, welcome to another installment of Experiments in Thought. We're glad you decided to join us again on our adventures through space, time, and the minds.
We have a very exciting show in store for you today. So please, if you'd like, join us on our never-ending quest for knowledge and truth as we go for a stroll through these beautiful woods. Perhaps share in a few philosophical reflections.
It's all too easy in life to get caught up in banal day-to-day activities and become preoccupied by reaching certain goals that we set for ourselves. Goals that we assume will bring happiness and comfort once met. But sometimes we strive to meet goals that look good on paper and entirely miss the reasons we established those objectives in the first place.
I think the search for fulfillment is the primary motivator within our psyche. And we should try to remember that happiness isn't some tangible external object that we can obtain after a string of achievements. Happiness is ethereal, not material. It is a state of mind, and therefore it is already within all of us, simply waiting to be found.
How often have we heard the story of a person who got the job they wanted, got married and had kids by a certain age, got the house they always envisioned, and settled into their middle-aged life? Yet somehow, happiness eluded them. They realize that they've spent an inordinate amount of time chasing something that doesn't exist. They begin to understand that it's the journey inwards and our connection to others that allow us to realize true happiness.
It brings to mind a quote from the great 16th century artist Michelangelo. When asked how he created such amazing sculptures from slabs of marble, he said, "I saw an angel in the stone and carved until I set him free." This is analogous to the search for true peace of mind. It's something we already possess within our consciousness. It just needs to be found. That is the great journey of life.
In order to live a truly meaningful and fulfilling life, we must first be in touch with and know ourselves fully. Who am I? Why am I here? These questions, when looked at beyond the surface of the mere rhetoric, pretense implied in our common understandings of these phrases, can be a tool to aid us in processing and realizing our full potential as human beings.
Who am I is not just a silly question used to test if we can remember our own names, but at a more fundamental level, it has implications as to what we believe to be true or untrue about ourselves, and also can be used to find out more about our wants, our goals, and the deepest desires of our hearts. Why am I here is not just a reflection on the biological and scientific explanations of our origins and the infinitesimally small probability that anyone alive and breathing has overcome to be here on the planet at this very specific moment in time.
Well, interesting to think about, this second question has deeper implications also. It is more a question concerning our purpose in life or our destinies. When we can quiet our minds and take a totally objective and honest look at ourselves, we can see not only where we'd like to see our lives go and what we'd like to change about ourselves and the world around us, but we can also see a path and the means to achieve these things.
This may seem to be an oversimplification of things, but I simply don't believe that to be true. We, as humans, have a tendency to overcomplicate things, and in so doing, we make our problems seem to be much bigger and more unmanageable than they really are. Once the path has become known to us, it is important to do the work laid out ahead of us with vigor and peace in our minds, regardless of what the world around us is revealing to us.
If we live our lives in constant reaction to the universe, it eventually becomes far too distracting to ever accomplish anything. Fear of failure and attachment to the results of our work can also be huge pitfalls. If we become too attached to the way that we think that something should happen, when things inevitably don't work out as we wanted them to, it's easy to become discouraged and stray from the true course. The goal is to get in touch with our higher self and live with a sense of detachment from our surrounding universe.
When a person is completely in touch with who they are, their wants, desires, and dreams included, they live each day of their lives in complete harmony and tranquility, simply knowing that they are doing what they're supposed to be doing. This is called being in touch with the Atman, or the Self. In Hindu teachings, the Self is the higher consciousness that exists in every living creature and has an awareness of the oneness of consciousness shared by all beings. Simply put, it can see beyond the illusion of separateness that we all are subject to in our daily lives.
Neither shall they say, see here, or see there, for behold, the kingdom of God is within you. St. Luke, chapter 17. This passage is of particular interest to us in relation to the various faiths of people and religions throughout the world. Here we have the Christ himself, widely regarded as the greatest spiritual teacher of metaphysics who have ever lived, plainly stating that the kingdom of God, or heaven, is not some faraway realm or tangible place, so much as a state of being which is contained within us all.
This idea is also heavily alluded to in Buddhism, Hinduism, and Native American religious ideologies. They simply use different terms to refer to the same things when we get to the root meaning of their teachings. In Hinduism, we have the self, which is essentially union with God, although they use many different names to refer to him, her, it. In a more expansive sense, the self is an all-encompassing field of consciousness that permeates and pervades all things in the universe, both known and unknown to us.
In Buddhism, we have the concept of nirvana, which is a state of consciousness that, once achieved, frees our minds and bodies from the illusions of separateness and pain that we must deal with throughout our lifetimes. In Native American traditions, we have Grandfather, the creator and divine master of the earth and the universe. There's also the incredibly strong sense of connection with the sky, the earth, one another, and the animal kingdom that is seen as very important throughout their spiritual histories.
In our opinion, it's not important to us, or the God that we know, what you believe, but simply that we ponder and explore these thoughts and ideas as often as we can, and that we strive to constantly improve ourselves in our ways of thinking, living in, and interacting with the world and the people around us. The idea that happiness, tranquility, peace, divinity, and heaven all reside within you is a concept that is shared among many faiths and spiritualities throughout the world. In fact, almost every religion and spiritual line of thought propose this very same principle, although they are presented under different guises.
The stories told in churches, synagogues, temples, and ashrams might appear different on the surface, but if we delve into the heart of the message, they are really the same. In Joseph Campbell's groundbreaking studies of mythologies of the world, he was able to identify the base common principles present in all religion and folklore. He called it the monomyth, or the hero's journey. It's not just an outline of old stories, but a template for the journey that every person goes on over the course of their life. I think it's encouraging that all the cultures of the world, past and present, share the same ideas and convictions at a fundamental level.
It's beneficial to learn about others' beliefs because it provides you a fresh perspective from which to view your own. If you're a Christian, why not read the Bhagavad Gita? If you're Hindu, give the New Testament a try. You will find more similarities than differences.
I strongly believe that hell is not some torture chamber to which God sentences us to eternity for a small lifetime's worth of sins, but also a state of mind that is very attainable in the land of the living. Quite simply put, it is separation from God, or the oneness of the universe. No sane and loving God would condemn their beloved creations to eternal suffering, when He is the master of the universe and in control of all living things, past, present, and future. That's a sickening and twisted man-made construct that our simple little ape brains drew up because of our understanding of something as indefinable as God is imperfect. It's baffling how much fighting and killing is done over these same trifling concepts, to be blunt.
It seems that a lot of people are more comfortable fighting over who is right rather than exploring the idea of what is right. According to all the great spiritual teachers of the past and of various faiths, it's all about love, which is something that is very easy for us as humans to forget. How childish and basest primitive human does this sound? Well, Jonathan, you lived a pretty good life. You searched for me, tried to do my work, shared everything you had with the world, and are worthy of abiding with me in my kingdom. Oh wait, we've got a problem. Looks like you didn't call me by my real name. Gotcha! Looks like eternal damnation for you!
In order to make the most progress with meditation and self-contemplation, it's usually best to withdraw to a place of seclusion and tranquility. Get away from the hassles of work or home life, and if possible, retreat to nature, like these beautiful woods here. Jesus himself said that when a person prays, they should go away by themselves, shut the door behind them, and pray in private.
Isolation allows a person to reflect without interference or distraction, which is very important. It often takes focus to open one's mind and find the ability to let go of unneeded mental baggage. There's a life energy that emanates from plants, a positive vibration that resonates with our own consciousness in subtle ways. It acts as fuel for the mind. It is our connection to the earth. As the Buddha said, if we could see the miracle of a single flower clearly, our whole life would change. Which brings us to our next topic.
The earth itself is a living organism. How can we say that it is not? It meets all criteria, just as each human is an amalgamation of bacterial life forms and molecular activity, so too is the earth, a product of all the billions of life forms that call it home and are sustained by its resources. We were born of the earth, we evolved in its jungles and grasslands, and we live by its air and sustenance. We are the earth. But we are consuming and wasting natural resources at an alarming rate. The earth is a finite space, and we can't continue our current patterns of consumption for much longer.
To quote René Dubos, the phrase conquest of nature is certainly one of the most objectionable and misleading expressions of Western languages. It reflects the illusion that all natural forces can be entirely controlled, and it expresses the criminal conceit that nature is to be considered primarily as a source of raw materials and energy for human purposes.
There are some disconcerting facts regarding our species and our planet.
There's a massive worldwide disappearance of honeybees, which we rely on for pollination of agriculture. Albert Einstein once said, if the bee disappears from the surface of the earth, man would have 4 more years to live.
Over 100 species of animals and plants are becoming extinct each day due to deforestation.
The Amazon rainforest produces over 20% of the world's oxygen.
Over 20% of the Amazon rainforest has been destroyed.
At the rate we're currently going, all of the world's rainforest could be destroyed by 2050!
Each human body is made up of about 93% stardust that was originally formed when distant stars exploded and died billions of years ago.
Americans use 1 million gallons of oil every 2 minutes! Americans produce 108 billion pounds of dung each year.
15 million kids die every year throughout the world from starvation.
Americans throw away $165 billion worth of food each year.
It's estimated that 40 billion a year would end worldwide hunger. In this country, we spend $700 billion a year on military and weapons of war. Disgusting.
It's imperative that we divert the proper amount of attention and resources into discovering and developing a renewable form of energy that can replace fossil fuels. The Earth is the only home we have, and overpopulation isn't as much a concern as overconsumption is.
We need to take care of this planet and take care of our fellow man. We must give thanks and become one with
our brother, the water.
And Mother Earth.
And Father Sky!
And Sister Fire. Well, we hope you've enjoyed this chat as much as we have. Stay tuned, and we hope you will join us again soon.